my story in game development started a little different. So I originally started my journey as an on-camera host for various video game media outlets in 2006 to about 2017. And honestly, I never thought I would transition into development of games, but when VR started to make its appearances, it felt so revolutionary that I wanted to be involved. However, VR was so new at the time that it was hard to find partners or clients to help us make these experiences that were in my head. And it was at that time that my business partner and I realized that if we wanted to be a part of this industry, we were going to have to learn how to make things ourselves. And that's when I started teaching myself the Unreal Engine, and we went on to make VR arcade games, a VR museum exhibit, and even our own game at one point. I work in video games specifically because it is literally the one constant passion I've had my entire life. Any opportunity I had to be involved with video games in the past, I took it. So I used to demo games at conventions or pop-up experiences, and I've toured with companies promoting their games, and it was just an interest that never faded. And I think it's because it's something that's always changing and evolving, and there's always something new to learn and grow from. And then a lot of it is just fascinating to have this behind the scenes look at what really goes on into making something that has so many elements to make it work correctly. I remember the first thing that I ever created was a mad scientist's lab, and I had an idea of what I wanted it to be in my head, but until I actually got into the level and started placing the models and messing with them, I was just like, oh, this is so like therapeutic and relaxing, and I'm creating art at the same time, and then actually going into the level and playing it, and I'm like, I made that. For as long as I could remember, Chun-Li has always been my favorite female video game character because she paved the way for a lot of positive representation of female characters. She was the first playable female character in a fighting game. She wasn't a love interest, or she didn't need rescuing. She was a martial artist and is a part of the International Criminal Police Organization, and she's hunting down M. Bison to avenge her dad's death. Like, those are some extremely legitimate traits to have, and I think because she is represented so positively while having some really solid gameplay controls is why she's become so iconic. And I feel like if you show a picture of her to almost anyone who isn't even a gamer, they're still gonna recognize her and be like, oh yeah, that's that Chun-Li character, or that's that fighting game character, and she can really kick some butt. So when I first got involved in the industry in 2006, the one question I used to always get when I talked about being in the gaming industry was, oh, cool. So do you actually play the games? And that used to bother me because the challenge was feeling like I had to advocate for myself. And I don't really know any other profession where the person gets asked if they actually do what's required of their job. Luckily, that doesn't happen much to me anymore, and I think it's because women in games are becoming more prevalent, to where it's no secret that we play games, and I am seeing an improvement in the reactions when I talk about what I do. You know, I'm starting to get asked things like, oh, so what are you playing right now? Or what do you play on? Or, oh, my kid would actually love to talk to you because they're obsessed with XYZ game, which I think is like super cute. But with all that being said, I'm sure those kinds of interactions do still happen to other women. And the solution I would offer is, instead of asking someone to prove themselves, just have a conversation about the thing we both enjoy. I've seen a lot of positive representation of women in video games in the past several years now, where women characters are either taking like this protagonist role or main side characters that really contribute significantly to the story, or at least having the option to choose a female lead, like FemShep in Mass Effect. And some of these games with these well represented female leads go on to be nominated or win awards like Hellblade or Control. So there's clearly room for these characters to exist, and I think this is showing that developers are making some progress, and I want them to know that that kind of storytelling is not going unnoticed. And yes, please give us more. I do know some women trying to get into the game development space, but honestly, I think their challenges that they're facing is just a lack of studio setting experience. They're not far out from graduating, so they may not have the answers or face a challenge that you would, at like a gaming studio or a business. But what I try to do is I try to advise them on reaching for any example in their studies that focuses on, decision making or handling disagreements or differences between group projects, receiving and implementing feedback, and what are their leadership qualities. And I think something that's very important is showing that even if they don't have a particular skill set, to find a way to prove that it's not about what they don't know, but that they have the capability to move forward and adopt and learn those skills. I think some companies have already fostered a great company culture that supports inclusivity, while others still do have room to grow. I would love to see more companies take some active steps to improve their workplace culture, ensuring that all people feel valued and supportive and have equal opportunities to thrive. The encouragement I would give to any aspiring woman trying to break into the industry is to never let someone tell you that you can't do something if that is what you really want to do. If I stopped at any time I got a rejection or never heard back, or someone literally told me that I wasn't fit for a certain role or that they would never hire me, I wouldn't have had the career that I've had. So do not let that noise get in the way of your goals.